What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and today I have maybe 6, maybe 7 videos for you. I've got lots of video game news. I've got some censorship issue news. I've got a mass exodus from Twitter. I've got some hilarious outrage over 3-fingered witches and much more. Just make sure you click that red subscribe button down below so you get notified each and every time I upload. Now, this week marks the beginning of the next-gen console generation for those who were fortunate enough to get a pre-order. Now, I will mention there is 1 day left to enter to win an Xbox Series X. I wish I could have got a PS5 to give away too. I just couldn't get one. So information will be linked in the pinned comment down below. However, now it's time for the game journalists. If you've been with the channel, you know that I actually call them games urinalists because I'm so clever, to get their reviews out. We've got a hilariously woke Xbox Series X review later today, and I've got this hilariously idiotic PlayStation 5 review, both coming from irrelevant website Kotaku and receiving instant backlash. Now, in this review, PlayStation 5, the Kotaku review, written by Ian Walker, longtime reviewer, most of what is said in this review is not refutable because it's just his opinion. He talks about how, some of the basics about pricing. He talks about, the games, the interface of the product, stuff like that, stuff that's reasonable. You could say, unfortunately, PS5 does not have a system like Quick Resume on the Xbox Series X, which gives players the ability to run multiple games at once and switch between them on the fly. An area of PlayStation 5's pop-up menu called the Switcher sounded promising until I realized it was a glorified way to change the game I was playing without going back to the main menu. It doesn't even warn you, as on the PlayStation 4. He gets close to the art in the article saying, which is a shame, can't quit you, because in addition to a few PlayStation 5 games I was given early, must be nice, most of the PlayStation 4 library is backward compatible from day one, which, with a few exceptions, that I don't think anyone is going to miss, and possibly some others. Adding them to the PlayStation 5 is as simple as downloading them from your PlayStation Network account or hooking up the same external hard drive you'd possibly already using in the PlayStation 4. Some games require a small update and so on and so forth. Let's get this out of the way. Apart from faster load times, Bloodborne does not run any better on the PlayStation 5 than it did on PlayStation 4, which is fine. It's a great game even without the buttery smooth frame rate. And there are several previous generation games that do look incredible on the PlayStation 5. Sekiro, for instance, makes use of its uncapped frame rate to get very close to 60 frames a second. Forgive me, I don't have any fancy digital foundry tools at my disposal for exact measurements. And it's a tug-of-war combat. Combat feels like you're given even more frames to read what's happening on screen. Some games, like Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, and Days Gone, have even received PlayStation 5 specific updates to improve their performance, and most of the PlayStation 4 games I tested made use of the PlayStation 5's SSD to greatly speed up loading times. It goes on to talk about some of the loading times, which is, I think, relevant. Some of the stuff, wasn't that impressive, to be honest with you, but some games just were beastly better. If you look at, I don't know, Sekiro, you go from 66 seconds down to 44 seconds. When you're staring at a screen, 20 seconds feels like an eternity. But if you look at Borderlands 3, that is some incredible load time on the PlayStation 4. 222 seconds? That's almost 4 minutes. That's insanity. Goes down to only a minute and 20 seconds. You could see Assassin's Creed Odyssey, 170 seconds down to 108. So the SSD obviously has a legitimate upgrade. This says, after publishing this review, Kotaku believed that the initial 15-second load time we indicated for Marvel's Superman Miles Morales in the chart above had been measured incorrectly when some of us began to experience a 40-second load time. Since then, we have conducted further tests and are now getting 15 seconds consistently. That's here. That's a big drop, obviously. This is a next-gen game, Marvel Spider-Man, Miles Morales, 82 seconds down to 15 seconds. Load times are are relevant, all right? Graphics, obviously relevant. But the most important thing, exclusives, right? As consoles get closer and closer to PC gaming, those of us that have been in the PC gaming camp are less and less excited to buy a console. You know, the Microsoft Xbox Series X QRL Super Edition Millennium Banana Edition, it's basically a computer. And you know, and ultimately, you still have the accessibility of the console and things like that. But here's where things get hilarious. The review has spent 3,000 words talking about the PlayStation 5, and here's where you should have ended it. Here's where you should have ended it, which is the most I've written about anything. It's as good as a game video console as there has ever been. The combination of ultra high def video, increased frame rates, high-end graphic techniques like ray tracing, and the lightning fast SSD makes it feel like a real deal next-gen successor to the PlayStation 4. And that's where you should end this. If you're not ready to give up on the previous console, the PlayStation 5 reliably runs a vast majority of the PlayStation 4 library, with many of those games receiving upgrades to fidelity, frame rate, and loading times. But I'd be remiss to ignore all the reasons not to be excited for the PlayStation 5. That's right. Don't be excited. The world is still awful, terrible, and you shouldn't be enjoying anything. You cannot read an article on a video game website that is an in-depth review of a video game console and not also have to hear about their personal politics. In a world still reeling under the weight of the coup, there are more Americans out of work right now than any point in this country's history, with no relief in sight. There's plenty of relief in sight, but that's neither here nor there. Our healthcare system is an inherently evil institution that forces people to ration life-saving medicines like insulin and choose ending their own lives over suffering with untreatable mental illness. As I'm writing this, it looks very likely that Joe Biden will be our next president. But it's clear that the worst people aren't going away just because a new old white man is sitting behind the resolute desk. Well, at least not this old white man. Our government is fundamentally broken in a way that necessitates radical change rather than incremental electoralism. So this guy's like a communist? Is that what it is? Dude. Allow me to provide some perspective, Ian. Allow me to provide something. So you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. We know that the minimum starting salary to work at Kotaku is $50,000 a year. Ian's been there a long time. He probably makes more than $50,000 US a year to sit at home and play the latest video games for free sent to him before any one of us. He is literally living the dream. He couldn't have a better life by most people's standards. Imagine having a solid salary, getting to work from home, and playing video games is your job. But you have to take extra time to complain about how America is bad. The harsh truth is that, for reasons listed above and more, a lot of people simply won't be able to buy a PlayStation 5, regardless of supply. Or if they can, concerns over increasing austerity in the United States and the growing threat of widespread political bad behavior, by the way, that's your side, to supersede any enthusiasm about the console's SSD or how ray tracing makes reflections more realistic. That's not to say you can't be excited for those things. I certainly am, on some level, but there's an irrefutable level of privilege attached to the ability to simply tune out the world as it burns around you. You know what? I walked outside today. It was really nice. Took the dog out to go to the bathroom. I saw my neighbors outside. They have the coof, but they were outside reading books, distanced apart. People were good, made some breakfast. Life's pretty okay for most people. But isn't it funny how the most privileged are the ones that are constantly whining about how bad it is? Ian Walker, video game journalist with seriously solid salary and health insurance, whining about how America is burning. I won't deny that video games can be an escape. It feels great to lose yourself in a fictional world where you can fix everything. Some of us see strength or personality traits in video game characters that we wish we saw in ourselves. As much as it sucks for real-world problems to intrude that space, I've found it increasingly difficult to focus on video games amid our current situation. Many nights, it's all I can do to play a couple runs of Spelunky before collapsing into bed, before a few hours of doom scrolling and restless sleep. All I know is I'm not alone in that feeling. We are collectively tired, and for good reason. Actually, I'm feeling pretty optimistic. Great numbers on jobs today. The market's having a great day. There is a new, we're 90% of the way there on a way to prevent getting the coof. These are all reasons to be excited. Am I pumped about Joe Biden's America? No, not really. But ultimately, like I've always said, that the president themselves affects very little of your day-to-day life. Your governor, your local mayoral positions, city planners, these are people that really affect your life. Whether they allow a new business to move into town to provide jobs, this type of stuff is important. The president, while yes, a figurehead, understand they have very little power as practically affecting your day-to-day life. He goes on to say, Sony and Microsoft chose a heck of a time to release their next-gen consoles. I think the PlayStation 5 is a great machine, but it's tough to recommend when folks are literally fighting for their lives while residing in the richest country in the world. I was very lucky to receive a PlayStation 5 for free, despite the fact I'm comfortable enough to have bought one on my own. Well, why didn't you give it away? If you're in the same boat, I encourage you to grab the console and see what it's all about for yourself. If you aren't, don't feel like a PlayStation 5 would change your life. It's a video game system. It's not going anywhere. I'm not looking forward to a time where we can all chat about our next gen. I'm looking forward to a time we can all talk about our next gen gaming on equal footing without dozens of daily crises looming over our head. Until then, let's focus on what's truly important, even if it means dipping out of next gen hype for a minute. And let's look at some of the replies. We have gamers. This is for a different video because she wrote one of the most ridiculous Xbox review videos I've seen. I feel like I'm wasting my talents for people who absolutely do not care about what I have to say. We'll take a look at that. But she goes on to say, this isn't even about me personally. Just seeing the vicious reaction to Ian's PlayStation 5 review, because he didn't just talk about the console, but how weird and jarring it was to talk about the console amidst everything. I just hate that because it's a beautiful, well-written sentiment. No, it's not. When you title an article, PlayStation 5 review, the week the thing comes out, people want to read about the PlayStation 5. They could go to literally any other website on the planet and read about doom and gloom. They could turn on mainstream media to get doom and gloom. This is something games journalists will never understand. I don't care if you get a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X or you're a PC gamer. None of that is as important as protecting escapism, especially in times like these. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.